Hi, I'm sending this because your blog is one of the only places I can put it where people won't immediately try to turn it into a joke or call the police on me for no reason. I'm not looking for help from authorities. I'm looking for other people who have had a video file behave like this, specifically with time metadata and the same audio pattern I'm hearing. This started as a normal dog video. I live in a newer subdivision outside a mid-sized town. The neighborhood ends hard. Last row of back fences, then a thin strip of municipal woods, and a dirt trail that loops behind the houses. People walk it during the day. At night, it's mostly empty, except for dog walkers cutting through to avoid streetlights. I was out there in the evening with my dog, Coda. He's not a guard dog or anything, just a big mutt that likes to sniff every inch of trail. I keep my phone in my jacket, and I'll take short clips of him when he does something dumb. That night, the sky was dark enough that the trail was mostly lit by the spill from porch lights and the occasional motion light from a back deck. There's a spot where the trail pinches between a drainage ditch and a stand of brush. It's right past the last houses where the fences stop and you can't see any yards anymore. Coda usually pulls there because rabbits run under the brush. He stopped and stared into it, head high, tail stiff. I said his name and he didn't look at me. That alone isn't weird. Dogs do that. I raised my phone and recorded him for a few seconds because he looked so locked in. I remember the details clearly because I replayed them so many times afterward. Coda in the left half of the frame, brush on the right, my voice saying, "Come on." And then him doing that quick hop like he wanted to go in but didn't. I did not see a person. I did not hear anyone. No footsteps, no talking. If I had seen anything like that, I would have left immediately. What I did notice at the time was that the audio on my phone seemed quieter than normal, like the mic was being muffled by my hand or my jacket, even though I was holding it the same way I always do. Back home, I got in, wiped Coda's paws in the entryway, and sat down in my small living room with the lights off, except for the TV glow. I played the clip back. The first thing I noticed was breathing on the recording that was not mine and did not match how I was breathing. It was steady and close, like somebody exhaling through their nose right next to the phone. My first assumption was that it picked up my own breath, and I just didn't remember it. So I replayed it and held the phone away from my face. Then I replayed it with the volume higher. The breathing stayed the same volume, like it was recorded at the source. Then I noticed something else. The brush on the right side of frame wasn't just brush. There was a shape in it that didn't move. It wasn't a face. It was more like the outline of a person crouched low behind the branches, with a pale patch where a shirt or skin might be catching light. It took a second to see it, and once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it. I scrubbed back and forth. The shape stays in the same place through the whole clip. Coda keeps looking at it, not the camera. The breathing continues the whole time, like a metronome behind the audio. I did the normal rational checks. I brightened the screen. I watched it on a different device. I sent it to my email and opened it on my laptop. Same. I also checked the details of the file. On my phone, it showed a created time that didn't match when I took it. I don't mean it was off by a few minutes. It showed as having been created earlier, like it already existed, then modified at the time I recorded it. I'm careful with my phone. I don't mess with system clocks. I don't use any weird camera apps. This was the default camera. I thought maybe the file got copied from somewhere, like a bug where an old timestamp gets carried over. But there was no older version of the clip anywhere. It was a new file with the right date for the day, but the time indicated it was created before I walked the dog. I wasn't planning to share it. I honestly wanted to delete it and forget about it, but I kept replaying it because the breathing made my skin crawl, and I wanted to prove to myself it was my own. I couldn't. I played other clips I'd taken earlier that week. None of them had that sound. The next morning I showed it to my friend Nate, who lives a few streets over. I didn't tell him what to look for. I just said, "Tell me what you hear." He listened and immediately said, "Why is someone breathing in your phone?" Then he watched again and said, "Hold up, pause it right there." He pointed at the brush and circled it on the screen with his finger. "There, that's a person." That made it worse because it meant it wasn't just me building something out of shadows. Nate told me to send it to him. I hesitated. I didn't want the file on more devices, but I also wanted a second copy in case I was being paranoid. I sent it through text. He got it. Then something happened that is the part I can't make sound normal. A few minutes later, Nate called me and asked, "Did you edit this?" I said no. He said on his phone the clip was longer by a couple seconds than on mine, and the last part showed Coda taking one step backward, like he was being pulled by the leash even though I wasn't pulling. Nate said my hand came into frame at the very end, and my fingers looked like they were shaking. I checked my version. Mine ended earlier. I asked him to send it back to me. He did. The one he sent back was the longer one. When I saved it, my phone now showed the longer duration too, even on my original entry, like it had updated in place. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what happened. There was only one file in my camera roll, and it changed. I went deeper into the file info on my laptop. I'm not a forensic person, but I know how to look at basic metadata. The file showed it had been saved once before the recording time, not opened. Saved, like an export. There was an earlier software tag that didn't match my phone model. Then the later one did. Nate told me to post it to a small group chat we share with a few neighbors who walk their dogs. He said if it was someone hiding in the brush, they should know. I did it because at that point I was more angry than scared. Within an hour, 3 people replied. 2 said they couldn't see anything and asked what they were supposed to be looking at. One person, Rena, replied with a screenshot and a mark on it. She had circled the same shape in the brush. She also said, "Turn your volume way up and listen between your words." I did. There's a faint noise under my voice, like a whisper that isn't words. It's not a voice you can understand. It's like air pushed across teeth, and the breathing gets slightly louder right after I say Coda's name. Rena asked what time I recorded it. I told her the time I remembered leaving the house, then the approximate time I thought the clip was taken. She wrote back, "My phone says it was created earlier, like earlier. She sent a screenshot of her file details. Her created time was not the same as mine or Nate's. It was earlier in the day. That's when I stopped thinking it was just a person in the woods. A person could hide in brush. A person could breathe near a phone if they were close. But a person can't make the file exist before it was recorded. And a person can't make it show different created times on different devices unless something is messing with the file itself. I asked the group to delete it and not share it around. That was my mistake, because by then it had already moved. That afternoon, an unknown account requested to follow me on a social app I barely use. The profile picture was blank. The username was random letters. There was one message, "Nice dog," no punctuation. I didn't answer. I went back to the trail before dark, not to investigate like an idiot, but to see if there was any obvious campsite or anything in the brush. I stayed on the paved end by the last houses and looked down the dirt section. I didn't see anyone. Coda did. He refused to go past the spot where the fences ended. He planted his paws and leaned back hard enough that his harness creaked. He stared into the same brush and made a low sound I've never heard him make. I turned around and went home. That night I couldn't leave it alone. I set my laptop on the kitchen table and played the clip on loop with headphones, trying to pick out what the whisper-like sound was. I also watched the brush frame by frame. There's a moment where the pale patch shifts, not like someone stepping out, just a slight change, like the angle of something flat turning a few degrees. Coda's ears twitch at that exact moment. The breathing also changes at that exact moment, like the person inhaled deeper. I sent that timestamp to Nate and Rena. I asked them if their versions had the same shift. Nate said yes. Rena said yes, but she also said her version had a different end frame. In her clip, the last frame held for a fraction longer, and in that still frame she could see what looked like a hand low to the ground. I asked her to send it to me. She refused. She said, "No offense, but every time someone sends it, it gets worse." I thought she was being dramatic. Then she told me she had tried to delete it and it came back in her camera roll under a different name, like a duplicate that replaced itself. That made my stomach drop because I had just tried to delete it too. Here's the pattern as best as I can describe it, because it's the only way any of this stays consistent. If the file is copied to another device or uploaded to a service, the created time shifts earlier on that device. It's not random. It moves earlier relative to the moment it is saved. Also, the length can extend slightly after a share, like new frames exist past where the clip used to end. The extension is small, but it adds detail. It never adds sound besides the breathing and that whisper-like noise. And the breathing is always present, steady, close, like it's recorded from within arm's reach of the phone. After I noticed this, I stopped sending it and stopped uploading it. I turned off backups on my phone. I tried to isolate it, like you would isolate a corrupted file. That didn't stop it. The next morning I woke up, and the clip was in my recent folder, as if it had been opened, even though my phone was on my nightstand and I live alone. When I checked the file info, the modified time had changed during the night. The created time was now earlier than it had been the day before. I took my phone to work, left it face down in my desk drawer, and kept Coda at home. During lunch, I checked the clip again, and it was longer by a sliver. Not enough to change the scene, but enough to add one more breath at the end, louder than the others. At that point, I did something I regret. I recorded my screen while playing the clip, thinking if I made a second-order recording, like filming the playback, I could preserve what I saw without the file rewriting itself. That screen recording also has the breathing. It shouldn't. It's a recording of a recording, captured indoors at my desk with the volume low. But the breathing is on it. Same pattern, same closeness, and there's also a faint rustle like brush moving, even though the only sound in the office was the HVAC. I stopped. I shut the laptop. I put the phone in my glove compartment on the drive home and tried not to think about it. When I got home, the porch light was on. I never leave it on. I checked my app and it showed it had turned on at a time that didn't match any motion alert. Coda was in the living room, standing stiff, facing the sliding glass door that looks out at the small patch of grass behind my unit. The blinds were closed. He was staring at the blinds like he could see through them. I did not open them. I took him into the bathroom with me and shut the door. I sat on the floor with my back against the tub and listened. I heard breathing in the hallway outside the bathroom, steady, close to the door, not loud but clear enough that I could count the rhythm if I wanted to. I texted Nate. He didn't answer. I texted Rena. She replied after a while and said, "Don't open anything. Put the phone somewhere you can't hear it." I asked her what she meant. She said, "Mine started playing by itself." I kept the phone face down on the bathroom counter. The screen stayed dark. There was no audio from it. The breathing stayed outside the door for a long time. Eventually it faded, like someone walking away down carpet. I slept with Coda in the bathroom that night. In the morning, the clip was gone from my camera roll, which should have made me feel better. Instead, there was a new video in my Files app, not the camera app, with a generic name like it came from a download. The thumbnail was black. The duration was slightly longer than the last time I checked. I did not play it. I can't make myself play it again. But I can still hear the breathing sometimes when the house is quiet, and Coda still refuses to go near the back trail. I'm sending this to you because your readers might have a better vocabulary for this kind of thing. Or maybe someone has seen a file that saves itself before it's made and drags extra time with it every time it moves. If you post this, do not embed the video. I'm not attaching it. I'm not providing a link. I don't want it passed around more than it already has. But if anyone has had something like this happen, especially with the created time shifting earlier and the clip extending after a share, I need to know what you did to stop it. As of tonight, the porch light keeps turning on by itself, and when it does, Coda gets up and stares at the blinds like there's someone standing just outside them, holding still and waiting for me to check.